All right, so it is time. So I'm going to be talking about why the sports card market is crashing or why people think it's crashing. So basically the big reasons of why this is going on is one of them is the contributions is stimulus. So there's no stimulus money coming in right now, which is a large factor. So that was basically free money people were getting, putting directly into the sports card market. So if you're getting anywhere from $600 to $1,200, maybe more than that, and you don't need it to spend on anything, you directly go in and at most spending $1,200 on one card, and that's going to boost up prices and things for cards. That's not going on right now. Another thing that's affecting the sports card market is COVID restrictions. Things are starting to loosen up. Specifically in more liberal areas, people who've just been shut inside, just on a computer doing things, now are going out doing things, spending money, going out to eat, or they're spending money, trying to do other things. And that's more money that's coming out of the hobby as well. The third thing is PSA suspending grading. A huge part of people making tremendous amount of money is buying single cards and sending them to get graded. That's really, it was almost a guaranteed way of making money, because if you get a 10, card could 3 to 10x what you paid for it. If you get a 9, you could still make a little bit of money, but it wouldn't be that much overall. And most of the cards were getting 9s and 10s, especially for modern cards. And there weren't that many modern cards necessarily on the market. There was still a lot, but the pop counts really just increased and went insane, even though there are more people coming into the market. So when they suspended, also they got people a little scared because people were just focused on PSA and just sending things in the PSA. There's this huge backlog. I mean, people don't necessarily like SGC as much or BGS Beckett as much. And you still have CGC and HGA. So people were just sending things in to get them graded, but it's not really accounting for anything because that's a pool of income, and to make more money, that's gone now. Another part is just how high prices got up, and a lot of people were holding and they were just like, I can't make sense of paying this much for these cards, because you saw cards at $40 and then they get up to 500 and then they end up getting into 2,000. It's like, this is ridiculous. And it's still hard to tell whether, that still may be cheap. Maybe it was just so undervalued and now it's becoming what it's actually worth. But people aren't, after seeing large increases, people aren't going to be spending $1,000 for something that they were spending, $100, $200 months before. So that's another dynamic that's part of it as well. PSA is grading faster as well. So you're starting to get more cards that weren't graded into the market. And all these cards are just piling up, piling up, piling up. And people, the pop counts are, to some extent, for some, doubling and tripling. And pop counts are getting higher and higher and higher. And it's hard to meet the demand for not just the base card, but you have all these refractors and parallels and all these other new sets that are coming in. And PSA are just making more and more cards, and they're trying to send all these cards in to get graded. So that's a major factor that's going on as well, and people aren't cognizant of. I do think it's overplayed though. So I do think for certain things, so for base Prism cards, that's the issue. But I think it's gonna go back to where it was, where the refractors and the parallels are gonna be more important than the base. And it's more so for basketball than all the other sports. It's specifically an issue in modern basketball and really for 2017 and up. Below that, I think those card pops are fine, and it's very hard to even find refractors greater than a PSA 10 or PSA 9 condition. The next thing is, to add to that, is for PSA grading, one of the things is when people get their cards back, a lot of them are getting lower grades than they expected. So PSA is tougher on the grades. So, you know, they're not getting as much money when they're selling. But also, because of that, a lot of times they've been waiting so long to get their grades back and get the cards back. You know, they're gonna have a bill that, you know, could be in the thousands of dollars, could be $3,000, and they're saying, oh, I need to pay this on my credit card and I need to pay this off. So they just take everything and they just sell off everything they have, and maybe they keep one or two things that's really hard to find and they got really good grades and they really like the card, but outside of that, everything just gets sold off, and they basically rework with what they got and try to buy other stuff. So they're just flooding the market, and it's not just this one person, it's like almost everybody's doing this, and people are coming back with hundreds of cards and they're flooding the market in auctions because they don't want to wait so long to wait for somebody to buy a card from them. Even though buy it now, you'll probably get it for more. They're just buying stuff in auctions. So they're just buying stuff, and then also they're selling things in the auction. So that's part of it as well. And it's just so much supply that people just can't handle it. The next thing is there's a lot of money specifically for basketball. The reason why things are going down is because of NBA Topshot. Because people, all that money, if Topshot didn't exist and people weren't really in NFTs in general, then all that money would have been in the card market, and things would have been higher, and things wouldn't have had this big of a correction as we do now. So that's something that people don't really understand. They're just like, oh my gosh, it's crashing. Why are things going down? Because so many people put money in Topshot, and it was hard to withdraw money. And people were just putting money into Topshot because to them, it was just basically free money, buy packs, guaranteed money. And that's what they were looking at. But it's hard to withdraw money. So it's this whole debacle, because if you were able to withdraw the money easily, then, and everybody could at the same time, they would have drawn it, everything would have crashed. The project probably would have been completely over then because no one would trust it. And then people would have put that back in the cards. But people aren't putting that in cards now. But also that's other NFTs. And then you also have NFTs and crypto. People are more focused on Dogecoin, Bitcoin, and other kind of NFTs, and, you know, cryptocurrencies and altcoins instead of cards now, because that's a newer thing, and it seems like it's more opportunity and it's more relevant in our society and culturally in a sense. So, and I think there's a bit as far as stocks as well with the whole GameStop debacle and other things. People are like, oh, I can put my money into this and make a lot more money, which there's so many different investments that you can do. So people are more stretching themselves thin. So they're selling cards and then taking that money that they made and putting it into other alternative investments. The other thing is what's going on with comic books. Comic books are still going up. It's lower pop, but people are buying comic books. People are just speculating across the board. So people are not only buying comic books, you know, Batman, Spider-Man, Marvel, and DC. People are speculating on other stuff. I've seen stuff going up for, you know, Mortal Kombat, for not just comic books for Mortal Kombat, because a movie just recently came out, but cards, Mortal Kombat cards. People looking at Harry Potter, you know, books for Harry Potter. People are looking for, you know, Lord of the Rings books or cards. Same for Harry Potter cards. People are looking at Marvel cards, Star Wars cards. People are getting the Star Wars comics. You know, people are getting into Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon. People are just stretching themselves thin, and it's just hard for you to just, no one has unlimited amount of money. Even Gary Vaynerchuk is worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and other people who are worth millions, they only have so much money. Some of them have millions of dollars in cards, but it's just like, and also they have multiple streams of income. Most people don't. And some who do, they can't put everything in cards, or everything in just, it's a few investments, and they're just stretching themselves thin. And there are other things that people are speculating with, you know, pop culture cards. People are trying to even buy Kim Kardashian cards. So if you're trying to chase everything, Formula One, I've heard about Lewis Hamilton and Formula One cards. People are talking about UFC. People are getting into UFC cards. People are getting into Magic the Gathering. People getting to all these different things. People thinking about buying watches. Like, when you're trying to invest in all these things, then it's going to stretch yourself very, 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 very thin. And what happens is you just see a decrease in those cards. And then another thing that is going on is not as exciting. Yes, there's a LaMelo Ball, for example. I give basketball the example of LaMelo Ball. But that doesn't translate because he didn't make the playoffs. He could have, but it's not like Luka level. I think LaMelo's going to be a star, but it's not like Luka level where he could be top 5, top 10 all time the way he's playing. There's not as much excitement because there wasn't really a full off season, and it's just been a weird thing with the whole coronavirus, you know, politics. There are other things that are grabbing other people's attention, and it's not just they're just focused on cards. And the issue is not a lot of new players that are getting the attention. Right now, it's older players who are winning championships, and that's really the big thing. There are other newer players winning MVPs, but championships and things such as that, you know, Tom Brady, you know, LeBron, Durant is in a conversation with James Harden, you know, guys who've been dominating the headlines for the last decade are still in the hunt and still the ones really competing. Yeah, there's some young guys like Patrick Mahomes coming up. He has won a Super Bowl. There is some excitement with Luka and Giannis, but they haven't gotten there yet. The other thing is that what's going on is people owe taxes. People have been selling stuff in the last year and a half, 2 years, and they get that 1099, and it's like, oh, I sold $70,000 worth of cards, but I don't have the money right now, and I reinvested everything. So what does that mean? So you have to pay taxes on things that you sold unless you've sold things at card shows and you've just been doing cash transactions. But even then, you're supposed to like pay taxes on that. So people have these large tax bills and they got to liquidate stuff, or they got to negotiate with the IRS on like how to pay things. So that's a big thing, which makes people over leverage. A lot of people took out loans. They're like, oh my gosh, and they took out a high interest rates or whatever. That plays a role in it as well. Money is tied up in grading, you know, taking so long to get cards graded. So money is tied up in grading. The other one is card shows. Money is tied up in card shows. Instead of buying on eBay, which normally what comps are, they are just trying to buy stuff on card shows because, oh, I'm going to get this crazy deal and I'm going to negotiate like Sasha T or whoever. When that may not necessarily be the case, then you may not find the best deals, and you may actually come out with a bunch of stuff you weren't expecting to buy, and it's a lot of impulse. I mean, the same thing can happen on eBay, but it's a little different, and it's harder to say no to someone in person when you're looking them in the eye versus saying no over text message or over, you know, you're just looking at the screen and looking at a card. I mean, another thing is auction houses. People are finding out more about what auction houses actually exist, and they're spending money other places. StockX is another example. And the other thing is people are just spending money not just on StockX, but they're also spending money in other things such as Rally and collectibles. So these fractional ownership, but also dibs as well. So people are putting money into that stuff as well. And they see LeBron and Jordan and stuff like that going up, and they're like, man, I can't afford all that. I can't spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I can, you know, maybe this car is going to be 10 million instead of 100,000. So I'm going to put $1,000 and, you know, maybe I'll 100x that money in 10-year time span or something like that. So I think that's the focus, and that's really what's going on. I do think it's going to recover, but however, I think the path right now is going to be, when the season ends, probably for about a month, basketball is going to be hit. Some things are going to go up, but most stuff is going to be desolate. People are going to be more focused on two things. Specifically, people are going to be focused on the Olympics. People are going to be interested in that. And the second one, people are going to be really interested in football, Trevor Lawrence, and the other guys. So I think those Prism cards, and probably Select as well, are going to be massive run up on those cards. And I think a month before the season starts, you're going to see massive sell-offs. And probably about 2 weeks before the season starts, things are going to be really going on the way down for most of the cards, except a few things that will go well through the season. So yeah, that's my take. And if you have any comments, if you disagree or agree, I mean, comment below, and please like and subscribe so you can hear more videos.